Hello and welcome to the Clarity Fiber Arts podcast. My name is Jody and this is the little corner of the internet where I talk about all things fibery. Primarily I talk on this episode today about some hand knitting that I'm doing. I talk about some cranking that I've done on my circular sock machine, and I have a small shop update for my hand-dyed yarn company called Clarity Fiber Arts. So it's very blustery around here. I would love it if you grab a cup of something warm, grab your knitting. It may be a bit of a longer episode. I'm not really sure. It feels like I have a lot to show you, but please join me on this spooky Monday and we're going to talk all things Halloweeny and all things knitting. Hello one more time and welcome to the Clarity Fiber Arts podcast. It is a very blustery, damp, rainy, sort of Halloweeny, very spooky feeling Monday here in Pennsylvania. The leaves are changing. All of the apple festivals and spooky events and trunk or treats and everything like that, they're all in full force, and I could not be happier. I adore this time of year. I adore all things spooky, all things fall, all the pumpkin spice things. And so I hope that you are enjoying those things too, or do enjoy those things too. And I hope you'll find this podcast informational and that you learn something or see something you like. So let's get started. First of all, I wanted to talk about something non-knitting. I am drinking out of my Witchy Paws mug here. My daughter got me this mug and she primarily got it for me because we have a dachshund named Fig, and with all the dachshund related things out there, you could just go crazy. I could have dachshunds and do have dachshunds all over my house, including a live one that will probably be barking at some point during this episode. But I wanted to talk to you about what I'm drinking because when the fall comes, I don't really drink hot tea in the warmer months. I do drink hot coffee every morning, but once I drink my coffee, then for the rest of the afternoon, I like to drink tea or I get very jittery. But I absolutely love this tea. This tea is, let me put my mug down so I can show you the label. This tea is from Lipton, and it is called Stress Therapy Tea. I didn't really buy it for that reason. I bought it because of the description and the flavor profile in this tea. As you can see, it is cinnamon, chamomile, and lavender. I am a huge lavender tea drinker. I know that some people feel like they don't appreciate or don't like the flavor profile of lavender in that it sort of tastes very floral, but I love it. And just the combination of the lavender with the cinnamon and the chamomile, wow, it is just lovely. It has just a little hint of cinnamon. It kind of makes it feel fall, and yeah, I just drink this tea by the gallons. I just love it so much. So that is what I'm drinking today, and I'm going to go ahead and take a sip before we get started. I feel like I have a lot to show you today, but as always, I try and keep my episodes a little on the at least at or under a half an hour, but today I feel like I have so much to show you that I can't promise anything, sorry. All right, so let's get started. First, I want to show you what I am wearing. In the spirit of all the Halloween goodness that is going on around here, I decided to get out and put on my big, oversized Witchling sweater. And so this is the Witchling by Tristan from Dragon Horde Yarn. And I can see in the viewfinder right now, you are not seeing the best part of it. And so let me stand up and show you. So this is the Witchling, and it has this cool sort of, again, I think spooky motif It's got the moons, and these sort of remind me of little sort of crosses or stars. And I just absolutely love this sweater. I get so many compliments on it, and especially I had it on to a pumpkin carving festival that we went to, and had so many people sort of compliment me on the sort of moon motif at the bottom. And so I really love this sweater. I love to wear it around Halloween time because of the way it looks. And so I'm going to step in closer here so you can see the yarn. I'm going to go right near the camera. This is a flywheel yarn, and it is DK weight, I believe. I apologize, I don't have all of the details, but I wanted to show you that because I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but it has little flecks in it of all different colors. And I really love this yarn. I am wearing it with a light t-shirt underneath, but you can definitely, I do not have a covering over my arm here, and it is next to skin okay as far as I'm concerned. Both of these yarns are flywheel. Again, I picked this yarn as the background, and then I picked a color that very much resembled one of the colors in the fleck. And so I believe it took me probably about 3 weeks to knit. I'm trying to remember all the details. I think I knit it on size 7 needles, and it went pretty fast. It is super warm, super cozy. If I want to be warm in this fall temperature, I can definitely just wear this with a little layer underneath and be good to go. And so that is my Witchling by Dragon Horde yarn. So not to get off the knitting trail, but I'm seeing in here my necklace. I should just have a section for acquisitions, but this sort of reminds me of something unique and spooky too, in a way. I'm gonna come in closer. I got this at a art festival that I recently went to, and it was in Mount Gretna, and it was a fine artist art festival, and this pendant is actually made from the vertebrae of a small, like, garter snake. And I just found it to be super cool. She told me, I met the artisan, and she told me about the whole process. And basically she casts a mold from these small vertebrae, and she's got other things too, but basically her whole premise is that she casts these pieces of jewelry from bones of deceased animals of various sorts. She had big pieces that were like jaws, and she's got all sorts of things, and then it just doesn't really look like a bone when it's done. It just looks like this beautiful piece of art. And so I'm going to come in one more time close to the camera so you can kind of see that, but I just thought it was really cool. And then she added like a little rose up top here, and down here there's a little diamond at the end. And so I don't know, just sort of reminded me of something spooky, and that it was made with a bone and just a cool acquisition that I got a couple of weeks ago. So all paired together, I feel very, very spooky today. So let's go on to works in progress. The last time I talked to you, which was about 2 weeks ago, I believe, I was talking about my granny vest by Pia Trans. I have done a lot of knitting on this vest. We had an opportunity to be away for the weekend, last weekend, and my husband had a speaking engagement at a conference, and I was just sort of along for the ride. And so that was in the Poconos, and there were lots of beautiful places to sort of get outside and do some knitting, and that's exactly what I did. He was tied up all weekend, all day at least, and so during the day I got outside, and so I got a lot of knitting done. Excuse me. Was really, really hoping to have finished this so that I could kind of open up with this on it, but I have decided that I cannot put too much pressure on myself. I tend to do that just by nature. Feel like I have to have a finished object for you guys to see or something, but as you know, knitting does not work that way. And I don't want to claim to be a fast knitter or somebody that can have, 10 projects each time that I record a session. I think that attitude is sort of very limiting to me, at least, because I wouldn't say I'm a fast knitter. I would say I'm a medium fast knitter. But in an effort to try and get something done for this episode, I worked my fingers to the bone, and as a result now I have a lot of, with this weather being rainy and things, I have a lot of hand pain and things like that. And so I kind of screwed myself because this morning I tried to knit on it, and first thing in the morning it was just way too much. My hands were too stiff. And so we're just going to go with what we have, which I'm very proud of. And I'll try and hold it up for you in a way. Let's see. Let's go this way. So this is the front of the vest. And as you can see, the yarn that I used did stripe. If you did not tune into the last episode, I used Crazy Zauberball, held double, in an effort to try and replicate what Pia had on her sample piece in the beginning of her pattern. And so although it didn't quite turn out exactly the same, the effect is still the same. And I just love how it turned out. It's sort of these melting stripes, and so they sort of melt into each other. Just a little bit about how this worked up. I really didn't want these like distinctive stripes. And so holding the balls together, I did a little bit of yarn management in that I tried to keep a lighter strand held with something that had a little bit of darkness in it, so that I didn't get these real bold stripes of the same sort of color. You can see there, like they go, each ball has it together. But I really didn't, I was worried that I have to do a lot of yarn management, a lot of cutting and splicing so that I would get to a different section on each ball as I was going along, but I really didn't have much of that. At one point, again, I should call this episode, perfectionism is not the goal. At one point in time, it occurred to me that this section, as I was going up here, because I was decreasing for the shoulders and whatnot, that I was having this big pooling area of dark black, black and dark gray yarn. And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Now I'm going to have to match the other side. And then again, I sort of had a little conversation with myself and sort of pulled back from the perfectionism of wanting this to look, so incredibly even that it didn't look hand done, or that I didn't really kind of know what I was doing with my yarn management. And so I just made the decision to go with it. I was on this side of the sleeve and I did a little bit of yarn management. I cut out I wound into a ball an entire section of light yarn and just proceeded. As you can see, I matched this section pretty well. And then things changed in pretty short order right here, as you can see. And I thought, oh, here I go again. I'm going to have to cut and find another section. And once this section started of yarn, it was a long time until I would have had to wind off pretty much until I got to another gray section. And so, I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Are you a perfectionist when it comes to things like that? I'd really be interested to hear, because I found myself lately with a lot of the podcasters that I watch, hearing a lot of people say that they're abandoning their perfectionism and that the whole goal of hand knitting is to have some experimentation and some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just not perfection, some imperfection in what you knit. And so I was a little worried about it being glaringly obvious up here, and we'll have to see once I put it on. However, my plan is to wear this with a white button-down collared shirt, and so some of this piece may be also covered. And so this is the front section. This is I don't even know if I mentioned the pattern, the Granny Vest by Pia Trans. And it looks a little wonky and big right now because the back piece, I'm just knitting up the back so that the back will meet these front pieces here. And then all I have to do is join, and then you pick up stitches all along this neckband here, and you sort of have a small, I think it's about 1 inch kind of ribbed band along here, all along the shoulder seaming. And then you create, and I have to look ahead in the pattern, but somehow you create a faux button band down the front. And so, I don't know, again, I would love to hear your opinion. Tell me in the comments what sort of buttons you think would look cool on this vest. It is again, it's called the Granny Vest. It is sort of a granny style throwback sort of moody vest, and I'm not sure what kind of buttons to put on it. And I actually thought of looking for some sort of I don't know. I make these decisions and then I regret them when I see them. I'm just looking at it here in the camera, and I even thought sort of like a brown button, like a darker brown with a swirled sort of black in it, but I don't think so. I think probably like a black and white kind of swirly button might be cool, or I don't know. Tell me what you think. If you know of any cool buttons, cool like button makers on Etsy or whatnot, let me know in the comments below what you think. But I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I'm going to hold it closer to the camera so you can see sort of what I'm talking about and how the stripes are sort of watercolory in nature because of the marling that happens with this yarn. And then there is my mismatched top. So I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. I am thoroughly enjoying knitting with the crazy Zauberball. And it always fascinates me how whenever I'm doing something that I feel is sort of crazy and like, why am I doing this? Why am I holding 2 balls of Zauberball together to try and achieve this effect? Somehow on my Instagram feed or something, pops up another person who has done this. And so I've been seeing some really super cool things knit with this yarn that is intended to be sock yarn that sort of marls for socks. And so not a very, if you're familiar with this brand at all, it's not a very inexpensive yarn. This vest was, I wouldn't say affordable for a vest. When I checked out and paid for it, of course I headed in and didn't even really care about the cost of the yarn, didn't look at it or anything. And then when she rang me up, I was sort of like, whoa, okay, for a vest without sleeves even. But yeah, so that is my granny vest, and I feel like I've rambled on long enough about it, and I promise, have it finished as soon as my crazy arthritic hands settle down. I will have that finished for the next episode. Part of the reason I didn't get it finished is because my kids and I went to the Penn State whiteout game. I had never been to one of these games. Wouldn't call myself a Penn State fan. I sort of am now because it was super fun. But my son bought my husband and I tickets for the game, and we were really looking forward to it and expecting it to be a pretty cold day. This was just this past weekend. And so in the spirit and the true heart of a knitter, I had this, again, crazy idea. I was going to knit us on my sock machine some white hats. And I wanted to make them similar and yet different. And that's exactly what I did. So apologies if you're not into the circular sock knitting, but I just felt like this is cool because you could definitely hand knit these too. So there were 4 of us going, and I wanted to make 4 hats, and I wanted to make each one specific to the individual and their tastes and whatnot. And so it was my husband and I and my son and his wife. And I'll go ahead and show you these cute little hats that I made. Again, these are on my circular sock machine. The bare wool that I had is not quite a bright white like I was hoping to go for. And so I set out to find a inexpensive acrylic white yarn that would run through my circular sock machine. I have a 60 needle circular sock machine, and so it can handle thicker yarn, because basically what it means is there are less needles around the circumference, and so because of that the spacing is wider and it can handle a thicker yarn. And so this yarn is Yarn Bee, which if you've never knit with Yarn Bee, and you have like a baby blanket or something of that sort that needs to be washed often, or you have somebody who's sensitive to wool, this yarn is such a delight to work with. I got it at Hobby Lobby, and just kind of hoped for the best that it would run through my circular sock machine, and it was like a dream. I whipped one of these hats out in about 20 minutes. And so it's a double thick hat. You knit this twice as long, and then you cinch the end and pull the one end through. And so you have this super squishy double thick hat. And the reason I'm showing you is because, you know, even if you hand knit a hat, some of these other things that I did are, I think, cool and cool additions to hats. And so this is a 1x1 rib pattern, and then you drop needles off and you make almost like a runner all the way through the hat, which gives it this sort of ribbed kind of texture. And then what I did was, because it was acrylic yarn, and again, I was trying to find all these different ways of making each hat unique, I went ahead and bought some iron-on patches here. These are sort of like, I don't know what that's called, that collegiate style. It's got the raised stitches on there, embroidered, that's what it is, embroidered style of stitching. So these were peel and stick, and then you iron them on. And before doing something dumb, I sort of had a feeling that ironing on this acrylic yarn was not the way to go. And so I did some good old YouTube research, and I found a woman on there who actually put these on her knit items using a heat gun. And so because she used a heat gun, there wasn't the addition of the pressure with the heat on the yarn, and therefore it does not burn your yarn. So what I did was, I have one of those styrofoam heads. I put the hat on the head, which is very important in this process, because if you don't, the glue on these appliques will glue together your ribbing, and when you go to put on your head, you will have that many less stretchy stitches. So it has to be stretched out as though it were on a person's head. These appliques, again, I got at Hobby Lobby, peel and stick, so you can kind of position them perfectly. And then I just held a crafting heat gun. I had a heat gun in my arsenal from days when I used to scrapbook, and so it was an embossing sort of heat gun, and I just took out that heat gun, had the hat on the styrofoam head, and I put on not only this decal, but then I put on the back a little Penn State paw. And I just think these hats are worth a mention because I think these emblems are super cute and they totally work. And so these are very low-key acrylic yarn. You know, I didn't have to be very brave in what I did. I just really had a ton of fun. And then I went ahead and made each one. The only two that I have are mine and my husband's. And so this one I made with the paw print on I wore the paw print actually on the back because I have these leather tags. And then I put 2 pom-poms on mine because I love how fun this looks. And I actually got so many comments on my hat when I was tailgating. People loved it. They wanted to know where I got it. And you know, I'm like super shy about ever promoting myself. And so I just said, oh, I made them. And my kids and husband were shouting about Clarity Fiber Arts and where to go and head on over to Etsy and yada, yada. So it was kind of fun. But on each band, on each hat, I put these cute leather tags, which I'm sure you've all seen. However, again, wanted to take the opportunity to promote a fellow Etsy shop owner. Here is I got a pack of these tags. I think I probably got 10 of them in a pack. Here is the tag. It's got a little, just like these 2 arrows and then a north symbol down there. These are fold over tags. So you just fold them over the brim and sew on the bottom there. And this is the name of the Etsy shop. I got a lot of questions about this when I posted these hats on Instagram. And I'm going to go ahead and insert a picture here of all 4 of us wearing our hats. It was pretty cute and it was a fun knitting mommy proud moment. And so, yeah, so that was that's the reason I didn't get my vest done, because I was cranking these hats. I cranked like 2 a day, but there was some experimentation. There were 2 versions of the hat. The first version being not white enough and the second version being a little tight. I sort of had to adjust the gauge on my machine and whatnot. So that is that. Let's go on to something else. This I thought was I just grabbed him when I was looking around to talk to you about what I was doing. Several weekends ago, we went with my my daughter and her boyfriend to the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. And I just thought these were so cool. There was an artist there, and I do not have her information, but I will get it and link it below. She made these cool little dragons out of leather. And if you can see, you know, they're sort of these abstract dragons, but they were all different and unique. So she had larger ones, but all different styles of leather and things like that. And then he's just got a little clip on the bottom. And I just thought it would be super cool to kind of clip a shawl together. You know, shawl season's coming. Or what I did that day was I sort of clipped him to my sweater and wore him on my shoulder. So we are Game of Thrones and House of Dragon fans in this household. And so I just thought he was super cool. So in the interest of gift giving season and things coming up, again, I will link the Etsy shop down below. I think she has an Etsy shop. She might have just a website. But I will put that information if you have any dragon lovers in your family. Like I said, there are larger ones. She had them like clipped in her hair and things like that. So I think they're kind of Halloween-y, but also a good mention for a potential Christmas gift. So he was cool. I just grabbed him to show you as far as acquisitions go. Let's see, what is next? Oh, my Mochi yarn arrived, and so rather than show you a picture, I can show you this stuff in person. My plans are to, when I'm finished with my granny vest, knit the Alma sweater by Sari Nordlund, and I have purchased the pattern and purchased the yarn for this and went ahead and knit up a gauge swatch. And here is my gauge swatch. I will show you how cool this yarn is. It's a really fuzzy yarn. Let's see the content. The content of this yarn is 37% baby alpaca, 35 nylon, 26 fine merino wool, and 2% other fiber. And so it looks like this in the yarn form. Looks sort of, I think it's a blown yarn. I think they describe it as a blown yarn, and looks sort of not very stable and sort of floofy, almost like my unspun that I talked about before. But when you give it a good tug, it's nice and sturdy. And this is how it knits up. It has sort of subtle speckling of pinks and yellow and a little bit of baby blue. It's stripes here and there, but very, very subtle. And so I did get gauge on a size 9 needle, I believe. And here it is in the ball form. And I'll go ahead and show the tag again. This is Berrocco's Mochi yarn. Did some research on Ravelry on this yarn, looking for people who used it for projects, and the reviews were very, very good. People liked working with this yarn. After they said it wore well and it did not pill, surprisingly, for the fuzzy nature of the yarn. And so I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. And hopefully the next time we talk, I will have the beginnings of the Alma sweater by Sari Nordlund. So that is that. Let's see, what else? I grabbed my, once again, little felted pumpkin. I took a needle felting class with my friend Farron, and she is from, she has a little felting operation called Whimsical Woolies. You can find her on Instagram as Whimsical Woolies, and you can also, I believe she has a website. I will link her information below. I wanted to have her card and I didn't bring it down and don't want to run upstairs and stop everything. So, but yeah, her name is Farron, and she's a lovely fiber artist and teacher, more importantly, and taught us how to make these cute little pumpkins. And so in the spirit of Halloween week, this is my little sort of teal blue style pumpkin that I'm pretty proud of, and I think I will be taking on some more needle felting for the holidays. I thought it would be cool to experiment with some flat needle felting that creates, you can create flat felted pieces, and I make these little like cup cozies for like tumblers on my circular sock machine, and I sell them in my Etsy shop. And I thought it would be cool to make perhaps like a flat little felted like a Christmas tree or something festive for Christmas, and sort of stitch that onto the front of the cup cozy and have this cute little Halloween or cute little Christmassy cup cozy holder. So there's my little felted pumpkin. He was super fun. And then I think the only other thing that I have to show you, we're going on 32 minutes, so I'm going to make this really fast. I have a very small shop update. I started to dye my Christmas colorways and started to feel, you know, as though I should be getting on to Christmassy things, even though I love to just hang in Halloween for a little bit longer. As soon as Halloween is over, I move right into the Christmas mode. I'm just one of those people. I'll have my Christmas tree up. We have an artificial tree. I will have it up by probably November 2nd, I think. Just because I can. We used to buy live trees all the time and finally made the leap to the artificial tree. It took me about 2 weeks to get used to the fact that it wasn't a live tree. However, I love the no mess. And I love the fact that you can put it up early and leave it up late, because I'm that kind of a girl. And so I did a pretty traditional Christmas colorway for my first one. I am hoping to crank out some hats with this for my markets that I'm participating in, and to also sell some of the hats in the Etsy shop. And so I wanted to do something fairly, you know, red, green, Christmas traditional, but I wanted to put a little bit of twist on it. And so I dyed this color that I am calling Christmas by the Sea, because the green in this yarn, although it does have some forest green in it, it does also have a little bit of blue and a little bit of like an emerald green in it. And so, and then also the white sections have a little bit of beige, representing the sand. And so we love the beach and the ocean. And although I've never been by the sea at Christmas, I would imagine that it would be super wonderful. And I want to put everything by the sea. So we'll have Halloween by the sea, Christmas by the sea. So this is it. And that is over in my shop. This is 75-25 merino nylon sock yarn, 463 yards. And just to give you an idea of how it dyes up, this is not a new colorway. I had this in my shop last year, and I'm going to hold this bag really far because this is a well-loved and well-used sock that I made for my husband last year. And so I just want to show you how my dyeing style, I've shown this in other episodes before, but this is sort of how my dyeing style works up. It's very micro striping, and so you don't have, there tends not to be a lot of pooling when you do it in a sock, even less so on a sweater because of there's only ever like a couple strands of each color. I try not to dye big chunky portions unless that's something that I'm going for. And so this is how my dye style works up pretty much on most things. I love this style of sort of micro striping yarn, and have tried other dye techniques and have fun playing around with other techniques. But yeah, I really tend to always gravitate back towards that non-pooling sort of micro striping striated style. I just like the look of it. And so I believe, now that everything's strewn all over the place, I believe that is all I have to show you for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out. This YouTube game is not the easiest when we're talking about the algorithm, and although I don't really play towards the algorithm, this is a lot of work to edit and work on these, just getting prepared and editing and things, and I love it so much, but I would love for more and more people to enjoy it, and it's really exciting to watch my new subscribers grow, and primarily I love the most just the interaction that we have. And so please feel free to comment, ask questions. I try and respond back to everyone, but definitely do comment on what you think about the knitting perfectionism that I talked about before, because I really find it liberating to sort of break out of that and not hold myself to such a rigid style of having things look all perfect. And I embrace mistakes if they're not glaring. And yeah, so let me know. And I believe that is it. I hope you guys have a really wonderful Halloween holiday. If you celebrate that holiday, I hope you have lots of great trick-or-treating time and time with family and friends. And I will see you in the next episode. I'm going to insert some B-roll footage of our time at, let's see, we went to a pumpkin carving display, which was really cool, and we went to Penn State, and I'll put some of the fall foliage in from the Poconos, which was absolutely gorgeous. All right, you guys, it was great chatting with you, and I hope to see you in the next episode. You take care. Bye-bye.